All right, welcome to episode 5 around the Gridiron. It's me and Austin here. We're going to be talking about, a lot of stuff. Probably kick it off with Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, arguing about the NIL, talk a little NFL, talk about some rookies where they're landing. Maybe we'll do a little team preview, anything like that. Austin, man, how you doing?
Good. Happy to be back. Always happy to talk football, and a couple interesting stories that of late. So excited to be back on with you, man. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's been busy. My wife graduated. I've had in-laws here.
Yeah,
Like, it feels like,
congratulations.
thanks. I've had in-laws here. It feels like every other day. So,
Sounds
uh,
exhausting.
yeah, it's nice to get a little break. So, yeah, man, I think we were talking before that we started recording. Jimbo and Nick Saban got some beef, man. Curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think it was a matter of time before. I mean, we've seen the NIL take so many directions, and I think the fear that many had, at least that maybe were apprehensive with NIL or even against it, was, hey, is this going to ruin college sports? But I think it's made things pretty interesting in a lot of cases, and I didn't expect, those comments to come out the last few days. Now I knew, Saban probably didn't want the playing field to be more level because I think anyone who's rational knows what's been going, on behind the scenes, both there and a lot of schools the last really forever, but certainly in the last decade or so when Alabama's had their run.
Yeah,
But again, we were talking about before the pod. I think it's kind of like a mutually assured destruction. And if I were Saban, I'd probably be careful with how far down the rabbit hole I want to take it because again, you have Jimbo, who was an assistant for him at LSU. You have Kiffin, who was under him, who's now a head coach. Cristobal at Miami, who was under him at Alabama. You got a lot of pretty big time coaches who know where the bodies are buried. They've seen how the
Artesian.
sausage is made, and
Yeah.
if they want to, let some info out there, they can, and it could be the downfall for a guy like Saban, and it'd be a bad way for his legacy to end.
Yeah, definitely leave him with a mark. I know I saw Sarkeesian was talking about flipping Aggie Hall to come to Texas as well, too. I mean, there's a lot of big name guys. I right. So we can't play it, but I knew Saban was full of it, man. When he was like, "Yeah, our guys are doing NIL, but they're doing it the right way." It's like anytime you hear a coach say something like that, it's like, oh, this guy's full of it. So uh, look, man, people are getting paid forever. You sent me that one funny quote where the coach was like, "Can we just go back to the old days of giving kids a bag of money?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, like in the McDonald's bags and stuff.
Yeah. So it's like guys have been getting paid forever. Corruption, whatever you want to call it, has been there forever. I tweeted out, right, like when Tua's family moved from Hawaii to
Yep,
Alabama, like you think they were looking for jobs on LinkedIn? Like, you know what I mean? Like
right.
it was all in the bag. It was all set up. So whether that's giving them money or whatever, I mean, Reggie Bush, right? They were buying his family a house or something like that.
And
Like,
and I had a couple of teammates that were pretty big recruits at Miami who had offers from Bama and were telling, us about like the money that they were being paid and other stuff going on like during the official visits that, these are like very high 4 and 5 star recruits that are all Americans and, warranting stuff from, those types of schools and,
that I'm sure Nick
weren't the
Saban,
types that were swayed by the money, but
yeah,
I mean, like, it's pretty common knowledge, and not that it's wrong or right. And I do think that, student athletes should be getting at least compensated in some form. Revenue share is a whole nother discussion, and I'm really not opposed to that either. But certainly, if someone wants to promote your name or image or likeness for a business, I'm completely for that. I do still think there should be some more guardrails involved. What does that look like exactly? I don't have the answers to that, but again, I think it's pretty just hypocritical for what everyone has been going on for a long time, and for
yeah.
him to kind of come up with those comments the last couple of days.
I was gonna say, I'm sure Saban didn't know anything about those guys getting offered any money while they were on those visits. I'm sure
Well,
that's
funny,
news.
my one of our former quarterbacks, Malik Rozier, who's from Mobile, Alabama, he had a tweet today that said, I couldn't believe my eyes when Julio Jones came back and had a brand new car, or like it was like a Charger or something, because like they're from like the same town. Like Julio was older, but you'd see all the pictures for years of guys, pulled up in front of like a gas station in their
Mm-hmm.
Chargers or their Camaros, and it's like, okay, you guys aren't, you're getting like $1,000 a month in your scholarship check.
Yeah.
Maybe you're spending on that, but
And
Saban
yeah,
also owns a dealership right across the campus.
you wonder where those cars are coming from when the head coach also owns a car dealership. Look, man, I just thought it was so funny. I mean, even if you take all that stuff out of it, Nick Saban's living in a house that boosters are paying for. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
to start getting mad about it now, I think you're right. Plainfield's leveling out. I think he takes a lot of pride in having the number one recruiting class in the country, or whatever that may be. And Texas A&M beat him to the punch. I mean, you saw these guys come out right away. Deion Sanders came out. Jimbo, it sounds like, called that press conference to basically fire back at Nick. I think I really don't know what his end game is here, to your point.
I don't either, and it's kind of be careful where you take it. I mean, like Texas A&M's donor base has insanely deeper pockets than Alabama's ever will, and there's a lot of other schools like that too. I think you're going to rile up the fan bases a little bit, and they're going to want to see Bama get buried for one, which
Oh, yeah.
I certainly wouldn't mind that as someone who doesn't like Bama. But again, I mean, I think just what Saban's done there has been incredible. And but on the same token, it's like, don't let this kind of ruin what your legacy and what you've been able to accomplish. And you're just gonna have to get with the times, if anything else.
Yeah, I think when Jimbo started talking about, go look into how he does business and go look into, how he's done things. And I mean, that's kind of spicy. You know what I mean? So now I'm like, are people going to go start poking around Nick Saban and try to find some dirt? I mean,
I think if Saban keeps trying to push the envelope a little bit, then that could be some repercussions. If he just kind of like buries it and don't hear anymore, then I could see it just kind of blowing over, because again, they're all doing things, that they shouldn't be doing for the most part. And no one wants to be the one to say something and then it blow back on them either. So, I could see it getting squashed immediately, but you never know. If they struggle in the next couple of years, again, that's kind of looking down the road. But, I wonder if he's going to get even more adamant about changing things, or if he'll just walk away at that point, or what. So.
Yeah, man. I know some coaches are starting to retire now, at least on the basketball side. But like, again, people were joking on Twitter. Maybe he was just trying to let his fan base know, like, hey, you guys need to donate some more money here. We're not getting these guys.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, I think NIL. You talk about revenue share, right? So NIL, and Saban even hit on this. Like, only like 30 players made money on the NIL on Bama's team. Like, you got a roster for 100 guys, only 30 are making money. The other 70, what I mean? Maybe they're getting some free food. I don't know what they're getting, but the NIL for sure isn't benefiting everyone the way a revenue share probably would.
Right. So. And that's what I've liked, that some, like Miami had one with American Top Team, which is an MMA gym. I know BYU had, I think, a few. There's another team, I think Florida State as well, where like some companies were paying like $500 or $600 a month for every single player on the roster. So I like to see things like that, because like everyone benefits. But
yeah,
I mean, at the same time, I mean, I also am not opposed to like a star player getting significantly more money either, if he warrants that type of attention. But at the same time, it's like, Miami's backup quarterback is the highest paid guy on their team, because he's got, his follower count is massive and he's huge on social media. So that's like an actually, more of a return on, on investment for a company to put money into him than, the starter. If you're really just going off of like engage. Now that's where the whole kind of like pay, I mean, it's not exactly pay for play, but like hey, are you going to pay a guy just because he's the starter, or are you going to pay because you're like getting certain metrics, you're getting a certain amount of impressions and eyeballs on whatever your product is, if you are a legitimate business, not just a collective. And like the whole collective thing is, it's all shell company and it's illegitimate, and those are going to get shut down, I believe, at least at some point. But like there are legitimate businesses that are making good ROIs and getting the just advertising and eyeballs on their product that they need through
Yeah.
them. So it's really kind of two schools of thought.
Yeah, there's a player for. It's interesting though how it works, right? There's a player for Kentucky. I don't remember now the guy. This is recent. He signed a deal with like Reebok based on his social media following, but it's like they're a Nike school. So I was kind of just like, when's this guy ever gonna wear Reeboks? But I guess off the court, he's doing these promoted posts and whatever else and getting eyeballs on it. But it just
That's similar for like at the pro level too, though. Is there's a lot of guys who are sponsored, by whoever is not the official apparel supplier, and I just I guess it's a state by state law basis too, but so I think some you can take pictures within, on the school's campus. Others, like, you have to be off campus to take, like, if it's a competitive brand of the university. But yeah, I guess if you're just at home or you're going out to a random field or court and, doing your photo shoot, um, then that's fair game and pretty similar, parallel to the professional level.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting crazy. I think it's starting to become more like pro sports. I think you probably talk about getting to some point where we're going to have to put a salary cap on this stuff. Guys are making stupid money. The Jordan Addison kid looks like he's going to sign with USC. And dude, I just went to that event in early May where he got like the touchdown award, and Pat Narduzzi's there, and everybody is doting on this kid and talking about how he's coming back to Pitt, and then a week later it's, hey, he's going to take $3 million to go to SC. It's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And people are making the argument, oh, Kenny Pickett left, and there's nothing for him in that offense, but they just got Keaton Slovis to transfer there.
He's the guy versus USC has like 6 or 7 NFL receivers on their roster right now. I don't know. I miss loyalty in college. College football is my favorite thing in the world, and I love so much more like the tradition aspect than you have at the NFL level. You're only with a team usually at maximum of 4 years, I guess 5 if you redshirt, and I like the sanctity of the sport and all that. So listen, I understand if like you're not getting playing time or something drastically changes or you're far from home. Like, there's certain reasons why, of course, you should transfer, but when you're the Biletnikoff Award winner and had one of the best seasons in school history, like, I mean, I get wanting to get paid. At the same time, I'm sure he could have gotten paid in Pittsburgh. So yeah, that's a case where I don't like it. He can say whatever he wants about why he's leaving. Everyone knows why he's leaving, like what the real reasons are for it. So I think that's one of the downsides of all of this is guys just chasing money. And again, I get it. Like, I don't know what his background is or where he comes from, and but at the same time, it's like you can't tell me that he couldn't have gotten some pretty decent money there. And now it's, if anything, he could be hurting his draft stock if he's not able to perform at the level that he was. And if some of these other good players that they have that are NFL talents kind of eat into his market share a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a bad move. I mean, look, I don't know what's going to come out of it. It's a lot of money. I know he's from a tough situation. $3 million, a lot of money, life-changing money probably for him and his family. Not never have to work again money, but for sure good money. But man, I told you about that kid. Like, so he had some offers to play wide receiver. I think at some smaller schools, but like big schools like Notre Dame wanted him to switch to DB. He's just like athlete coming out, and Pitt gave him a shot at wide receiver. Played right away because it was Pitt. Becomes a star. I don't know, to repay them by basically going to the prettier girl as soon as you get popular kind of feels like a dirtbag move. Feels very, very non-loyal. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Right.
Dude, I don't know.
And that's the thing. I mean, he's draft eligible this coming season
Yep.
now, and dude, you don't have to replicate what you did this past season, but just again show that you're the guy, you're the number one receiver there. Of course, your numbers are going to go down a bit, but you're still going to be the most targeted guy. Like as long as you don't mess up or just improve on some of the things that you can keep working on and stay healthy, then you're going to be a first or second round pick most likely. I would imagine just as long as everything else checks out for him. So like again, what else does he gain? Is he really making that much more than there are rumors that like Aaron Donald and Larry
Yeah.
Fitzgerald were putting some money together. Pittsburgh's not a small town by any means. I mean, there's definitely industries there that I'm sure would have or probably were willing to put some money up. Is it worth the risk? Because the big pot of gold is at the next level, for the NFL, and we'll see if this ends up dropping him at all. I'm sure he's probably going to get some character knocks. Some teams aren't going to care at all about that though, and we'll just overlook that. So, is it so much that just too much to pass up? I don't know. Again, no one's privy to those
All the
details.
details. Yeah, and you're right. I had heard that they matched it. I heard the rumors like 3 million and a house, which again, I mean, he's from a really, really tough part of town in Maryland. So again, life changing stuff. Probably takes his mom out of a bad neighborhood into a good one. Yada yada. To your point, I think Pitt matched a lot of that. My thought is similar to yours. Now here you are a year before you're draft eligible. You're going to go into this brand new offense, brand new coordinator, brand new team, right? You're walking into this locker room, and I mean, you've been there. I've been there. It's a different situation, but like, guys aren't really probably going to take well to him walking in wanting to be the guy. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot
Right.
of guys there that are also thinking they're the guy.
Yep.
So now you gotta come in, you gotta find your role, you gotta understand him. And I'm sure he's not going there without being promised, plenty of targets, plenty of being featured. But to your point, you're the freaking Blitnikoff winner. How much better could playing in Lincoln Riley's offense really be for you? How much better could this really, really be? And to know that he had a chance to go to Alabama, he took a visit to Alabama, he took a visit to Texas, he took a visit to SC. It can't be about winning, is how I really
Right.
feel, because you would go to Bama, right? I think if it's really about trying to get into the college football playoff, you would go there.
If it was about coaching, he would have. Brendan Marion's the best receivers coach in college football, who was his receivers coach at Pitt and then left to Texas.
So he would have
So
went there.
it's not that. I mean, Pittsburgh's the best offense that's going to, or Bama to prepare him for the NFL. No one's running like a true air raid in the NFL. I mean, there's concepts for sure, but Lincoln Riley's offense is no one's using it really for the most part as a base, every down type of system.
Yeah.
So you're not going to learn more that's really translatable to the next level. Again, and then they have, I don't know like all their names. They have one or two that are pretty good that were returning. One was a transfer from Memphis and then, was a freshman All-American, then transfer there, did well. So two guys, and they had one also that was transferring from Oklahoma, with the staffs, who was pretty good. So again, a lot of competition just within your own room there that he wasn't going to be facing at Pittsburgh. Maybe he wants some pressure off of him and doesn't want to be like keyed on every single play.
It's funny
But
you say that, dude. I'm looking at his stats from last year. He had 100 catches for 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns.
yeah, so even if you have a down year, it's still going to be most guys like career
Yeah,
seasons ever. If
dude, those are
you have those,
video game numbers. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, with and no knock on Kenny Pickett, he did that with Kenny Pickett.
yeah.
So like, what are you really gonna do in Lincoln Riley's 2,000 yards receiving? It feels like that's the only other. Like,
I think they're too good across the board for anyone to put up those numbers in that receiver room.
yeah,
I mean, I would say
no,
they probably have a top 2 to 3. I mean, Virginia's got 4 NFL receivers coming back. I would say Ohio State's probably one. Virginia's right up there. I would say USC is probably a top 5 receiver room in college football. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
tough.
Well, I'm
A
looking
great
at like,
quarterback, they're going to throw the hell out of the ball, but again, you're not going to get as many targets as he was getting
yeah,
at Pitt last year.
I don't think they've got. I don't think I can find targets, but I'm like, dude, you have 100 receptions. You probably get 150 targets. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you think Keaton Slovis is going to throw it to him every down he can probably, if we're being honest.
yeah. So I'm like, to your point. I mean, USC, no matter what, right? Like, they're not going to throw you the ball 100 times out there. So
Right, and then part of this is like, okay, are you going to be able to leave a legacy there? Again, like how does this season play out? Maybe he repeats and he's Biletnikoff and he's forever loved. Maybe he's just has a pretty good year, gets drafted versus Pittsburgh. You're one of the top 3 or 4 players in the history of that top 5 player ever. Like you're going to be mentioned with Tony Dorsett, Larry Fitzgerald, Aaron Donald, Dan Marino, and
yeah,
Jordan Addison, and that's gone forever. And they're probably a lot of their fan bases get a turn on them, and that closes a lot of future doors that could have been open, in life after football or whenever the cleats are hung up, and if he ever needs help in that phase of his life, then that's something to think about, and that's not worth nothing. That's hard to put a dollar price on that as well.
yeah, I agree, man. And we've kind of talked about the vibe I got from him personally, and so I also think like, oh, maybe there's a play here. You want to go to LA because it's going to help you if you have a desire to get on TV and movies and build the connections there. But again, like I said, what we've talked about, like he's got a lot of work to do if that's the play. You know what I mean? Like he's not Mr. Movie Star yet. So
Right. I think it's one thing if you're like, you show out as a freshman at like a MAC school or something like that, and you want the chance to be on the big stage. That's hard to pass by, if the Power 5 teams come calling. Again, I don't love it, but that's much more understandable versus, hey, you're at a team that is, I think they are played or won the ACC championship. I'm blanking if they,
I think they played. I
I
don't
think
know
they,
that they won it.
yeah. But anyway, we're there. I mean, they're a top 15 program this past year. It's like, you're already near the top,
No, they won it.
echelon.
They won
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so. So it's like you're stepping down a competition. You're going to a worse conference. Now, I mean, the Pac-12 is not what it used to be.
No.
So, I mean, there's really just, yeah, you're getting paid money, which I get. It's hard to turn down, but there's no other advantage, in this situation that I could think of. Better
Yeah,
weather. I mean, that's
that's it. And
like but for a couple of months, and
but I
then
mean,
he's
to
out of
your
there.
point, like if Pitt and those guys are putting the money up to match, you know, I don't get it. And I mean, look, it's his decision at the end of the day. It's all these guys' decision. But I really think, to your point, a lot of these guys are making very, very short-sighted, short-term moves for the money that they might regret in the long run. I mean, look, if he goes there and has a dud of a year, I doubt he falls too far in the draft.
Mhm.
But I do think he'd regret it, right? Like he would definitely. Is it really worth it? If Pitt was really offering the same or close to the same amount of money, and he goes there and puts up a crap year, like was it really worth it? So
Right. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I guess only he can really decide that at the end of the day. But yeah,
yeah,
this is just one. Again, some of these moves make a lot of sense. This is just one that kind of makes you question,
yeah,
what's really behind it.
yeah. No, it doesn't make any sense. I saw. This is funny. I guess Notre Dame was trying to get Kenny Pickett to enter the transfer portal
Hmm.
and go there.
That'd have been an interesting
It would have
situation.
over Jack Cohn,
Yeah.
but look, I love Notre Dame. I went there. I don't think Kenny Pickett takes him to a college football playoff win. I don't see it. I think that team's got some other issues they need to address.
Yeah. I
Um,
like Freeman, Marcus Freeman taking
yeah,
over.
yeah, I like him too.
So I
I
think
just
they'll do
think Notre
well.
Dame needs to get a lot faster on offense. I think that's really where they lack. I think Kelly took a pivot where they were this power run team,
Hmm.
and that worked well. But like, it's kind of the Wisconsin model, you know what I mean? And then
Right.
once you get paired up with speed and you're down 14-0 quick, it's hard to win when you're running off tackle every other play. Like,
Yeah, if you can't take control from the get go, if you do get yourself in a deficit like that, then that is a hard offense to try to play catch up with. So
yeah,
again, they can wear a team down, if things are going their way and they're getting some creases, but in a couple drives stall, you can be in trouble pretty quickly.
yeah, man. And like, we don't need to harp on it, but the whole Ian Book, great defense. We're going to run the ball. We've got these big wide receivers. I was like, you can't win like that. I mean, I know they beat Clemson that year, but then they get,
Well, that
Alabama.
that's the thing. They've for quite a while, they've had just good college quarterbacks, but not NFL again, Ian Book was drafted like in the fourth round or something. Deshaun Kaiser was drafted like, they're draftable guys, but like, what is who's the last Notre Dame quarterback that's ever done anything like thing in the league at all? Like,
Yeah, it's been a while.
I don't know
It's
if
been
I don't know if in my lifetime if
yeah, no, Joe Montana.
Brady Quinn probably went to a bad situation with Cleveland, but I mean even him like really good college quarterback, but just not much NFL talent. Um, at that position to get over like the Bamas of the world. Again, I agree with the speed thing too. They have a lot of big body receivers that do well in the Big Ten, but just not fast enough. Can't get much separation when they're playing the SEC teams.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's tough to win like that. Look, I like the Jimbo. If we come back to the SEC and how we started, I like the Jimbo's there now. I think he's a little bit of a snake the way he left Florida State high and dry. He knew
I
he knew
I
what was
I
coming.
I was cool with it, man. I
He
was
knew
glad
what
to
was
see him
coming
leave,
and he got
man.
out of there. But everything I've heard about Jimbo is that he can raise money. I think that's the thing I've
Mhm.
heard the most, is that he can raise money. So the fact that he went to Texas A&M and they have a big alumni base with deep pockets, like you talked about, and then the NIL thing came along and they bought the
It's
number one, doesn't surprise me
it's
at
a
all.
perfect marriage, man. Like a lot of people question the move, and he was doing well at Florida State. We never kicked our ass, but they beat us every time when I was there. Some like the Jameis Winston years, but
Yeah,
um, I mean, did very well there. They didn't have the backing from again like their boosters or the AD, like their administration wasn't funding the facilities that he wanted, and I think he probably saw that what Clemson was building, and hey, I don't think we're going to be able to sustain this level of success at Florida State long term to where he wants to be. So goes to A&M, largest athletic department in Division One. Again, huge oil money from alumni base. Again, it's going to take a couple years to build up, but like you said, being able to buy the number one class pretty much this past year, and he's gonna be able to stack like that probably for at least another class, depending on what happens with NIL. Is it going to stay how it is, or are there going to be some more guardrails in place that maybe prohibit some of the, at least the recruiting inducements or whatever they're doing to land guys. But they may end up being a juggernaut in a few years if they can get some retention, on the
oh
roster
yeah,
and have these guys stick.
oh
He's
yeah.
a good coach, man.
Look, like we said, the money's there, and he can raise it, and he can recruit. You look at some of those Florida State classes that he brought in down there.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
big time talent.
it is really a perfect storm, and I think that's why Saban's probably getting a little flustered, because this is right in his backyard now in the
Yeah, it's his
SEC.
disciple, man. Gonna take
Yeah,
over. They beat him this
they
past
beat
year.
him this year. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. With Kellen Mond at quarterback, like they beat
it's
him.
not
So
much.
I think, I don't know that the writing's on the wall, but definitely, I think Saban's looking across the bow and seeing, okay, Georgia just beat us, right? One of my
Yeah,
disciples already just beat us.
Clemson's beat, they've gone back and forth.
Yeah,
They had a down
Clemson.
year this past year, but Dabo is kind of getting close to,
Yeah.
on Saban's level.
Yeah, and I think, Georgia, I don't know the alumni base. Georgia and Alabama might be similar. I would think maybe Georgia has a little bit more money than Alabama in the alumni base. But, Kirby can recruit too. I don't know how well he can raise money, but he can recruit. So you got him there. Then you've got
I
Oklahoma and Texas coming
I
into
was
the
going to say
conference as
Texas is the
well.
one I'm curious about because they're right up there with money as well. And just, again, alumni base, athletic department size and budget on a year over year basis. Sarkeesian's kind of the wild card. I think he can be a very good, X's and O's coach. Is he going to be able to put everything else together? And that's a program where, coaches have had very short leashes to work with.
Yep.
But they got the Quinn was Ewers,
Yep.
however's his
From
name.
Ohio
I mean,
State.
that's a player that could potentially turn things around. Um, they've got money to spend, so if they're able to take advantage, that could be another team that kind of resurrects, outside of Miami and USC who are building recruiting, and then Oklahoma with Venables coming over from Clemson, great coach. Again, I don't know. I don't know if it's his first time ever being a head coach or what his position was
Yeah,
before, but the long-time D coordinator. So I don't know what he was doing before he joined Clemson, but they're probably going to be competitive as well.
he was at Oklahoma, so he was the D coordinator at Oklahoma, and he
Okay.
didn't get the job, so he left. But yeah, now he's the head coach. Look, I think the NIL too, this collectives and whatever, what it really does too is it helps people that are in positions kind of like Jimbo, right? Where maybe the administration's not getting behind you, they're not giving you the funding you need, they're not whatever. Now you just have this other pot of money for now legally that is just sitting out here to say, go get players, go do whatever you need to do, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll back you on it. So I think it's good. It takes a little bit of the bite out of the administration, so they can't really say, "Hey, we're focusing on education." Not to say that's a bad thing, right? But a
Right.
lot of these schools are,
Yeah, but like an arm's length away or plausible deniability, basically, is
yeah. But I
what it
think you're
is.
right, and I think the thing that's going to help Texas the most probably is Texas A&M doing really well after buying this recruiting class.
Yeah, because they don't want to be the little brother to A&M at
Yeah,
that point.
exactly.
So it's okay. Let's open up the pocketbooks and
Start buying kids.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's great. It's going to be competitive, but I think, Saban talked that BS about parity, man. There hasn't been parity in college football for a long
oh
time.
yeah, I mean,
And
I still love it, but it's like sucked for a while just knowing, okay, Bama's probably gonna win this year, and
yeah,
I kind of miss like not knowing or like maybe there's like a handful of teams that are going to be vying for it versus Bama steamrolling everybody and same old, same old.
yeah. And even in like, Big Ten country where we're at, dude, Ohio State's been running away with the Big Ten for years now.
Yeah, it was nice seeing Michigan, handed to them this year,
Yeah.
and I'd like to see some of those like Wisconsin and Penn State kind of get up there as well. And
Yeah.
again, I hate Ohio State also, but I'd rather them win than Bama if I had to pick one of the two. But yeah, it's nice just to have like some other teams be competitive and at least start to maybe get on that level as well.
I agree. I think it's going to crush some of the smaller schools like the kid from TCU who transferred to Ole Miss. I forget his
Evans, Zach
Yeah,
Evans, yeah.
Zach Evans. So that's going to be tough. And
And
then
and they're not even like a small school, but like so for instance, like Akron had a freshman All-American receiver who I think he had like 8 or 900 yards, you know, killer could have been one of the best players in program history and then transfers to Pittsburgh, which again, I can't blame him for wanting to be on that stage, but that's the tough thing now like with not having to sit out a year for transfers is if you're like a mid-major type program or conference, like, a guy balls out for a year and then he's up to the big leagues basically.
yeah. They're it's a stepping stone now for everybody, right? And
Mhm.
and that makes it tough. I think it makes it tough to recruit kids.
If so, I have a question. If you're a coach at a MAC school, and you have like a a really good player as a front, like, do you start to like maybe hold guys back a bit so they stick through, or do you just, hey, you're the best players on the field no matter what, and if they leave, and
You
like,
got to win, right? You got to
yeah,
win. One of the things I've been talking to some of my buddies about is like this idea of, and Mac is, it's kind of in this range, like you have to build this culture around a lot of these like 2 and 3 star kids
hmm,
and kind of develop them. But that was my thought on But Jordan Addison was a 4 star guy. But I'm just like, you hope that by developing a kid, they have some loyalty to the program. They want to stick around.
yeah. I
But it,
guess on the flip side, I think we had touched on this as like for like you talked about like maybe a D3 school or like a juke. I can't
yeah,
remember the situation, but it's like, hey, like you do have that opportunity to get early playing time, and if you want to leave, then there could be an opportunity at a larger school. Is like, is that the like a new selling point for coaches? Like, hey, we're gonna like look what we did. We developed this guy. This is how good of coaches we are, and
we're a feeder. Yeah, we're a feeder. It's like
it's
it's the
weird.
reverse. It's the reverse of the Calipari, right? Where he was putting kids in the NBA. It's like, hey, look, we're putting kids in Power Five. Um, that would be nuts. That
Yeah,
would be nuts. And a very, very neat strategy if somebody did that. I guess the real problem would be you'd have to get your school comfortable with you being like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're gonna win the MAC. We're gonna win the AAC or whatever it is, and it's gonna be that. Dude, I think that's a really cool strategy. Now you talk about it, but yeah, the that I was talking about was playing D3 and basically told him, hey, I'm using this as a tryout to get to the MAC. And if I have a great year, I'm out of here. My only thought is like, dude, you hold a kid back, they're still gonna hit the transfer portal. Like that's the other hard part,
yeah,
Like,
that's true.
yeah. So I don't know. I think it's a very very interesting time. I think kind of complaining about it the way Saban's doing isn't the way to go about it. Um, I think teams are gonna have to get creative, and I really like that idea of just being like, hey, come play for me, almost like a JUCO, right?
Hmm.
Come play for me here, win a conference championship for me, and then head on out to Power Five.
Yeah, if you want to leave, then leave. There'll be opportunities. If not, we'd love your loyalty.
Dude, that would be a
But
baller.
I think the one of like the issues is, and I guess I'm guilty of this too. It's like people complain, but it's like, okay, what's the solutions then? Like, what's your idea of a better, instead of just saying, okay, we're not going to have it anymore because that's at this point the cat's out of the bag. Like it's here to stay in some type of capacity.
Yeah.
So,
No.
okay, what does a better environment or world look like then, with NIL? And I don't know the answer, but I would love to see some other people involved, right? Coaches like try to, put some more other proposals down. And if they want frameworks and say, like, hey, this is, the parameters that we should be working within for NIL. So something that maybe I need to think about a little bit more is like, what is the perfect solution if there is one?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I know we're gonna wrap here, but maybe you do something kind of like what's in pro sports, and say, hey, look, here's a salary cap. If you spend more than this, there's a tax. That money goes into some fund, I guess, that then supports non-revenue generating sports. I don't know where the extra money goes, but like, hey, every team can spend this much. If you spend more than that, you got to pay a tax on it. I don't know. I
Oh,
really don't, but something's got to give.
yeah, you're gonna have the legal questions of like, hey, is it constitutional to like limit like your likeness or what you can make off self promotion?
Yeah, I
So
know.
I mean, like, I guess you could limit a collective or get rid of that, but it's like, who's to stop any third party company that wants to give 1 million or 5 million or whatever to the certain
I
player? Who's like,
know.
is that then our lawsuits are gonna happen, and
Yeah,
I don't
there's,
know. I would like to at least limit the collective pieces, but I think outside of that, it's kind of just like fair market and
but
just
yeah, but I think the collective makes the same argument, right? Like if it's how do you put a cap on how much money they're able to
I
raise?
guess it's just like, hey, are you guys really like you're not a legitimate business? You're a shell company whose sole purpose is to provide money to student
Yeah.
athletes. I guess that's the argument there is yeah, okay, then what defines a legitimate business then for NIL and yeah, it's just a whole can of worms, man. It's tough.
It's gonna. I think not to be cliche, it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. I
Hmm.
think the NCAA. I haven't been reading everything, but I think they're almost just like at a loss too as administrators. I don't think they really know what to do when it
And
comes to
that's the
that.
issue is they tabled the conversation so long and were so stuck with no that now it's they can't control it. Like they had every opportunity in the world to have some framework or allow it in the way that they wanted to, but it was all or nothing for them. And now, this is what we have. And I don't know how they even go about change. I mean, they keep begging Congress to step in, and Congress doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah,
It's
it's not a congressional issue. Like, what a waste to bring Congress and everything else going on in the world.
right, exactly.
It'll feel like when Congress was like interviewing Sammy Sosa and stuff. Like, you guys don't have anything better to do than.
You're right.
But I don't know, man. Look, I'm just enjoying it for what it is. I mean, you've got these guys pushing back on it. You got Dabo pushing back on it. You got, I saw Kalani Sitake at BYU pushing back on it. Look at, and I don't think these guys are wrong. I do think being an 18 or 19-year-old with $3 million or $5 million or whatever is slightly dangerous. I know you when we talked said you were going to buy stocks with your big money, but like, dude, you put 18 or you put $1 million in my hands at 18 or 19 years old, and like I'm probably doing a lot of dumb shit.
Yeah,
So,
I probably would have at that age too.
so like again, even if there's no guardrails around how much money is in it, like there should be guardrails around kind of how the
Like, is it
money
put in a
works.
trust? Is
Yeah,
it like, do you have like all the access right away? Like,
yeah,
do you have to do a pool share with your teammates, or is it all your like? There's a lot of things you could do with it, I guess.
yeah, something. Because I'm just like, man, I can't see anything pop. Like, dude, you're down in Miami and someone's giving you like $2-3 million. Like,
Shit, I'm getting a condo on South Beach. I'm gonna get a club or a table at Live every weekend. And
yeah, it's just like you're gonna get in trouble. Like, what I mean? I don't know. So I don't know. We're gonna wrap here, I think, and then we'll talk more NFL next week. But hey, if anybody's out there listening and they follow us on Twitter and they've got ideas for how to improve the NIL, reach out to us. Love to hear it. And
yeah, I'd love to talk about any proposals you might have and see if it's good or bad.
yeah. But all right, we'll catch up next week. You got anything planned for the weekend?
Yeah, so I'm back in Indy for about a week, coaching a youth football camp this weekend. I've third annual one, so coached all
Nice.
three. It's with Anthony Morelli, owns X Factor Quarterback Academy up north side of Indy, but used to be my trainer back in the day. He played quarterback at Penn State, had a cup of coffee in the NFL, and
Sweet.
owns a pretty big time facility now. Like trains like 100+ QBs a week and
Wow.
really taking off. So coaching some receivers there, 2-day camp. So really excited about that.
Nice, man. That'll be
Yeah,
a good time. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know that
looking
I'm
forward
doing
to it.
anything crazy. I think, dude, I told you, buying a house sucks. I think I'm like power washing, our front stoop and the house
Mhm.
and whatever, like real exciting stuff.
So
So
did you just buy one, or you're getting ready to like sell yours and clean it
no,
up?
no, no. We live here, and it's just that time. Like the front porch is like
Oh,
concrete,
okay.
but it's got this like grime to it. So we're gonna power wash that, and then in Maryland we get this like green mildewy stuff on the
Yeah.
siding. So it's
Huh.
like got to power wash that off. So
I, you ever watch like power wash videos?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty
they're
satisfying.
great.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I might try to do a before and after. Now that you say that, but yeah, man.
I'll watch it if you send it to me or look at it, whatever it is.
So I'll probably have a few beers and I'll be out there power washing. My wife's been on it about getting it done. So
Happy wife, happy life, right?
Yeah, man. Home ownership. These are the joys of it.
Enjoy.
Cool, man. All right, well, we'll catch up again next week. We'll talk some NFL. Enjoy that football camp. Sounds sick.
Yep,
And
looking forward to it, man.
see you later, dude.
I appreciate it.